Hello, everybody. It's Julia Ross here again from CSO Family, and today I have with me Melissa from our egg donation side of things. For those of you who don't know, CSO Family is a full spectrum service. We work with surrogates, we work with egg donors, and of course we help the individuals who are looking to build their family. So today we thought, because again, we're all home and working virtually, we thought we would connect this way and do a sort of a mock consult for you, so you can have an idea of what it's like if you're coming to us and requiring an egg donor. What does that consult look like? So I'm going to pretend that I am an intended parent and Melissa is going to facilitate a consult for us. So here's Melissa.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Okay, so I understand we're kind of doing a mock IP, which is intended parent run through. So Julia, I'm just going to get started by asking you first, are you with any clinic? Are you currently with anyone that you're working with that we need to know about so that I can make sure that I'm giving you the right information?
Okay, perfect. So the first step is to hear from the client as far as where they are at in the process. So I'll just come to you and I will, let's just say that I'm not connected with anything or anybody yet, and that I'm looking to you for that guidance.
Perfect. Okay. So we're happy to put in any sort of referral to any sort of clinic that you'd like to work with. We work with several clinics across Ontario and a few out in the Montreal area that we can send you links to so that you can be informed and make an informative decision on which clinic you decide you want to proceed with. From there, you can kind of work hand in hand. So I kind of recommend logging in, registering on the database, which is www.little-miracles.ca. Intended parents are welcome to register for free, so they can just log in, log out as many times as they'd like, and review the donors that we have available. So once you've registered an account as an intended parent, it usually takes about 24 hours to receive an activation email, which basically now indicates to you that you have full access to the donors that we have available that are live and ready to cycle. Okay. So once you have that activation email and you start to log in, you'll start to review all the donors that we have, and you'll see little notes. Some of them are, out of province donors. Some of them are proven donors, meaning they've completed cycles and journeys before for others. There's usually additional information that you're not necessarily seeing on the donor's profile that you might want further clarification on, or perhaps you want additional pictures. So that's where I usually tell you, the intended parent, to email me so that I can get further details for you. So it might be your list of top 5, your top 10, or maybe it's the one. I usually recommend emailing me those numbers immediately so that, again, I can circle back to you quite promptly with some additional information. So that additional information might include previous journey stats, what her capped amount for reimbursement might be, how far she is from the general clinic area, so that sort of stuff. So from there, you'll hopefully have a lot more information to review and make you more informed to kind of narrow down your list to one donor that you want to move forward with. Yeah. So from there, I usually will tell intended parents, ask further questions that are just outside of the normal profile, because many times intended parents feel quite limited to what's on the profile, and you feel free to email me any further questions outside of what's just on the standard profile that you're seeing on our end, because we're happy to reach out to any of the donors that you're interested in to get further clarification on maybe, what she does now in terms of job or school. Maybe perhaps you want to know what her parents do, what their education was, that kind of stuff. So kind of thinking outside of the box. Right. Once you've narrowed it down to one donor, I'll send you an invoice that will outline all the costs associated on our end for a journey with that particular donor. Now, being mindful that all medications and procedural related costs would be billed to you directly by the clinic that you proceed with. So on our end, you're looking at our agency fee. Donor expenses for reimbursement, which will vary from donor to donor. There would be a psychological session that you would see on the invoice as well. Again, that will depend on the clinic that you're with, because some of them have in-house that they do. And you would see independent legal advice for your donor. So at any point during this process, she is entitled to seek legal counsel. And of course, if you decide you want to have a legal contract in place, we're happy to put the connections together so that you get some legal counsel on your journey as well.
Okay. So is it not always a given that there is a contract? It's just if they
So
want?
Right. So we kind of leave it up to the intended parent. If they decide they want to have a legal contract in place, then they are welcome to do so. Now, keep in mind that some clinics do make it mandatory on their end.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of on a clinic to clinic basis and on a recipient to donor basis as well.
Right.
So in the event, so many intended parents at this point are like, well, why would I need a legal contract if I'm doing an anonymous type of journey?
Right.
So many times we find that in the future, you might want that child or children to have future contact, or it might be for medical updates along the way. So this would entitle that recipient to reach out through a third party, whether it be through us, Little Miracles,
Right.
or the lawyer, to get further details and connect with that donor that they had do their journey with.
Right. Okay.
That's usually why they would have a contract in an anonymous type of situation. And again, if the clinic requires it, then
Right.
So again, legals, we generally tend to get that started once the donor has been medically screened and cleared by the clinic, because there's no sense in getting legals started if the donor hasn't been medically cleared. So we usually wait until the medical screening process is completed through the clinic and the donor, and then we get that underway.
Okay.
So basically, what we do first is we charge our agency fee to officially secure the donor that you want to move forward with. So let's say you want to move forward with donor number 15278, and I'm just winging numbers off my top of my head. So I would send you an invoice that would outline all the costs associated on that end with that donor to cycle with your clinic. So our agency fee is the only fee that we would require to officially secure that donor for a journey. Our agency fee right now is a reduced rate of $2,250 plus HST. So as I mentioned, that's the only fee that we would require to officially expedite your forms off to the clinic and fully secure that donor for your journey.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that that fee is a non-refundable fee, but is always transferable in the event that the donor is deemed not viable to proceed with, or if she backs out, unfortunately.
Right. Okay.
So that fee we just transfer to another donor that you select from our system. We're not charging you another fee to select someone in that case, of course.
Okay.
The remainder of the fees on the invoice would, again, only be requested once the donor has been medically screened by the clinic. And then we hold those funds in trust with Little Miracles until the entire journey is completed, the donor expenses are verified, and the retrieval is completed accordingly. So generally, I tend to tell intended parents the timeline tends to be from the point that you've selected a donor until the retrieval process takes place. You're looking at about 3 to 4 months, start to finish. So I mean, it does happen fairly quickly. It's one of those things that once you find the donor, it does expedite very promptly. So
Yeah.
I tell intended parents, if you're looking at moving quickly and you want your journey to start yesterday, then you need to start immediately.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only downside, is some people want and think that the process perhaps is a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, obviously there's screening timing. There's the downtime to wait for those results, which generally takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get that back.
Okay. Yeah. So that's significant wait time. And then you're at the mercy of clinic appointment availability anyways, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the donor is generally on medications, which is the stimulation medication, for generally about 10 to 12 days. That's when the clinic will want to see her a lot more often than not, just to ensure that she's reacting to the medications the way that she needs to, that those follicles are growing the way that they need to. And once they see that those are ready to go, then they'll give her her final trigger shot and retrieval happens.
Okay, yeah. So it's, in this world for us, we're pretty familiar with the hurry up and wait.
Yeah,
we always
exactly.
try and encourage our intended parents to sort of prepare for that. But it's definitely faster than the surrogate side of things.
Absolutely.
But we always, we tell our intended parents, if they have not yet prepared their embryos, it's always a good time to do so when they're waiting to be connected with a surrogate, right?
Yep. And all of those embryos are, so essentially anything that's extracted from the donor that you journey with, all of those eggs extracted are for you. So all of those would be frozen in storage when you're ready, when needed.
Right. And so is it typical, do you find that intended parents tend to go right to creating embryos at that point, or are they freezing eggs and then creating the embryos a little bit further down the line?
That's a great question. So some intended parents and some clinics actually do it this way. So for example, ReproMed Fertility, I know that they'll freeze So let's say there's 30 eggs extracted from the donor. They'll fertilize 15 of those, and the other 15 will be frozen as just eggs.
Okay.
And I actually recommend intended parents doing that, so that in the event that the sperm doesn't take to that entire lot,
Right.
you haven't lost all of those eggs. You have some
Yeah.
frozen in storage as a kind of like a backup plan.
Right. Yeah.
But that's kind of recommended. And you don't have to use those numbers like a 15-15.
Yeah.
It kind of is dependent on how many that donor produces. So
Right.
if she gave you 20, then you might want to just fertilize 15 and save 5.
Right.
Again, just kind of having that backup plan I find is super helpful, but
Yeah.
you don't have to fertilize everything. You can freeze all of them as just eggs, or you can fertilize the entire lot as well. So that's kind of up to the discretion of you and the clinic and your doctor and what they kind of recommend.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I had another question. It's lost me now, or left me now. Do you have anything more to add? Is that a typical consult, or would there be, I guess,
well,
questions along the way?
A lot of intended parents will come to me and ask, you know, what should I go with, a new or a proven donor? And I usually find that that's really a great question to ask, because essentially I say go with your gut, because you kind of have to start somewhere. Every proven donor at some point was new,
Yes.
you know, and I know that it offers some reassurance having a proven donor, knowing that she has done this process before, that she understands what's going to be required of her. And obviously you'd have some stats to back up that journey as well. But with the proven donor as well, we need to be mindful that, you know, they're coming to us because they want to do this. And all of these clinics are very diligent with their screening process. So they are pre-screening all of these donors before they actually fully screen your donor for the journey. So ensuring that her follicle reserve is in good standing, that things are working and in order for her to be a viable donor.
Right. Yeah. So when you have the information on a previous donor, does it vary as far as the detailed information? Like, would you know that, yes, this donor had a successful retrieval and had 30 eggs taken, but would you know further than that? Like if there was a pregnancy achieved, if there was a live birth?
So yes and no. So we're not always, unfortunately, privy to the end result unless you, the intended parent, and the donor had a legal contract in place stating that we are privy to know those results. Then yes, we would know.
Sorry, working from home life, you're going to hear my son.
That's okay. I put my dog in the other room.
I can't do that with a human.
Yeah, right? I don't know. Perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was...
So sorry, yeah, you don't always know that information. It's
right,
not
so
always,
we're not always
just
the end result. So what we do get, if the clinic... Hi, Eli, how are you, buddy?
Hi.
Hello. You say hi?
Hi. Say hi.
So cute. Look at you.
Aww. You playing
Oh
outside?
my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the donor if she wants to or not?
Well, it's more if the legal contract entitles us to disclose that information. That's our biggest thing. So confidentiality and anonymity of our donors and our recipients are a big priority. So we always backtrack to make sure that that was information that we are privy to and privy to disclose. Also, in addition to that, we generally sometimes with some clinics will get information from the first transfer that was done, but that's via the clinic. So sometimes we'll have further results in terms of, for example, it might say 30 eggs retrieved, 10 of those maybe made it to embryo, 8 of those day 5, first transfer not successful, but we might not know anything past that point. Or they could have been pending a surrogate, so no transfer was done. So there's different things, and that's the type of information that I usually tell intended parents. When you email me that short list of the donors that you're interested in, that's the type of information that I would include in those emails.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
Yeah,
what do you think? You got any more questions?
No. Yes. You were so cute.
Yeah, so what else? We talked about timelines. We talked about, I mean, it's on my end of things, I always say to parents that it's a very different process, right? Like from our side of things, you know, they are very much in control of the egg donor process. And when getting connected with the surrogate, you're sort of waiting for the surrogate to choose you. Hey,
absolutely.
Extra out of there.
So a lot of kind of
So
parents will ask me, a lot of them are coming to me through needing a surrogate as well, and they think that they need a surrogate in order to do the donor step, and it's actually
right.
it kind of goes hand in hand. So I usually tell intended parents, yes, absolutely get started on the surrogacy roster, so then that way that timeline, that waiting downtime to wait for an available surrogate isn't so lengthy.
Right.
In that meantime, they're getting that donor retrieval done, fertilizing the embryos, and then when they do have a surrogate, it's ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go. And we also say on our end that lots of times surrogates want the information, right? Like they want to know, is their embryos ready to go? So
and blood type and where they're tested and that kind of stuff. So it absolutely helps when you have the donor already gone through her journey and do the step of the surrogacy route. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why it's so great that we work hand in hand and we are CSO family and have this full spectrum service for our clients, because, we can really help them through every step of the way, from the very beginning to connecting with you if they need. And of course, all the people that we work with, we have done so for so many years that it's quite seamless for us to facilitate these types of journeys where, I think clients come to us and it's like, we recognize that it's all new to them, but this is what we do every day. So
exactly.
So that was great. I think I learned some more stuff too about your side of things. And I think next week we're going to do another one where Melissa pretends to be someone who is interested in surrogacy. And so we'll flip the table a little bit that way. And goodness knows we'll still be working from home, so you'll see us again like this. But we hope you guys are all doing well and managing and staying healthy. And thank you for watching. And please share. And any questions or comments, you know how to find us. Thanks so much.
Stay safe, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.